Hello and welcome to the Gratitude and Growth Podcast. I'm your host, Sara, and I am so happy you found your way here. Most of you probably know me as an actor, but what you might not know is I have been on the most transformative journey these last few years. And I've created this podcast to share the discoveries I've had and things I've learned and continue to learn about this wonderful journey we all call life and how to attain joy, peace, and ultimately freedom. Because I think that's what we're all striving for at the end of the day. I'm here to share some tools that can change your life, hone your mental discipline, and empower you to step into the highest version of who you want to be. I'm going to share my own journey of how I got here, but please do not live from my experience. My intention is for you to live from and create your own experience. Take what works, leave what doesn't. There is no right or wrong here. Just do you. Just be you. Okay? Alrighty, let's dive in. Hello, and welcome back to another episode. I hope everyone had an incredible week. My week was wildly busy and motivating and amazing, and sometimes I really thrive when I've got a lot going on, and other times there's always that fine line between thriving and overwhelm, right? But I gotta talk about the highlight of my week, and that was seeing Jelly Roll perform live. I saw him during a festival, and it was such an experience for me. And then afterward, I actually watched his documentary on Hulu, which I highly recommend. But it impacted me in such an incredible and profound way. And it was so unexpected, and I was so surprised. And it really made me check a lot of things about myself. So I just want to dive in to what this experience was and what my takeaways were from it. I should start by saying I didn't really know who Jelly Roll was before this, and maybe that's not the best thing to say, but that's just my truth. I didn't realize how many of his songs I actually knew. I just didn't know that it was him. So this is the thing with me and music. Ever since my spiritual awakening, music has had such an incredible effect on me. I relate to so much music. Lyrics hit my body in so many different ways. There was actually a year where I couldn't listen to music with lyrics because suddenly the lyrics all affected me. So if it was heartbreak, dark, heavy music, I couldn't fill my subconscious with that because I was so sensitive to it. And so I just have this incredible love for music nowadays. But the one thing I'm not really good at is remembering names of artists and putting them to their songs. But this actually is something I'm going to work on because I also want to honor the artist by knowing who is writing and creating these beautiful songs and lyrics. Anyway, back to Jelly Roll. Oh my goodness. Throughout his concert, there were so many times where my entire body was just filled with goosebumps. Not just with his lyrics and his talent and skill and the way he uses his voice, the incredible range that he has, but actually more when he just spoke. Now, like I said, I wasn't familiar with him, and I wasn't familiar with his story. And I could spend this entire episode talking about his story. I'm not going to do it. I'll give you the nuts and bolts, but I do recommend that you look him up, watch the documentary, go catch one of his shows. But his story is that he had a rough upbringing. He was in and out of jail. He was a drug dealer multiple times. Just didn't grow up in the best neighborhood. He had a lot of issues and struggles with his mom and that relationship. He's the youngest of 5, I believe. Don't quote me on any of this. These are just the Cole notes. And at one point, he decided to give music his everything, and he dove into it. He started rapping, and he was mainly in the rap scene, and then he transitioned into country, into rock, and now he actually has a song that's at the top of country radio and the top of rock radio at the same time. So it's just awesome. And I think one reason he's defying the odds is because of who he is, and I'm going to get into that. So he was talking about his story. He was talking about his upbringing. And okay, the first thing that I just got to own up to on my own end here, because one thing he really inspired in me was to be even more authentic, and not play by the rules and not try to please everyone, and just to own your own opinion and your own story, even if it's quote unquote wrong or bad. But one thing that I'm constantly clocking myself on is my judgment. So, something about me. I feel really good when I don't judge other people. I just do. But that is not a sustainable thing for me. I try to sit there and try to figure out why. And it's like meditation. I feel really good when I meditate every single day, but I don't always meditate every single day, even though it feels good for a million different reasons. But with judgment, I know that when I'm judging somebody else, I know it has to do with me, either my own insecurity or something I'm struggling with. I at least have that awareness. But there's some hardwired judgment in me that I still am working on breaking away from. So I'm just going to be honest and say it. Usually when I see somebody with tattoos all over their face, there is an immediate judgment in my mind that most of the time I work through, but that initial judgment is still there. Whether that's my upbringing, the way I was raised, the environments, who knows, who cares, but that's my truth. So when I see somebody like Jelly Roll, just see a picture of him or just see him from a distance, there's an immediate judgment that comes up. And holy shit, I am so humbled by the experience of this concert, because I would never necessarily look at somebody like that from afar and guess that I would feel so seen by them and feel like I relate to them and feel like I relate to their inner journey, to their spiritual journey, to the things that they're doing, to the way they are living their life and the things they want to do with their life and their time on this planet. So that was a full stop for me. Every time I get humbled like this, I also get empowered. I don't have the full vocabulary on that yet, but there's something that happens where I'm like, woo, okay, Sara, amazing. Effing check yourself and go, you know? And this is why I hate's a very strong word. I actually don't hate anything about myself, but this is why I dislike when I judge people, because usually the universe humbles me very friggin' quickly and tells me that I'm wrong. And that's what happened here, and I'm so grateful for it. Because here's the thing. Jelly Roll speaks the same truths I do. He's trying to be of service in a very similar way than I am, and yet in a very different way. And it gets me thinking, why am I so easy to judge like that? You know? I know it's based in fear. I'm really good at choosing love over fear. I really am. I am proud of that in myself. But yet, these innate judgments are still there. And witnessing the hardwiring like this trips me up sometimes. I'm not going to lie. But I'm so grateful for it. I really am. Because he taught me. No, he didn't teach me. I already knew it. But it was an incredible reminder to clock your judgment. Because the next thing he reminded me of, I talked about this a bit already, is authenticity. He owns his story so much, and ownership over it makes him powerful, and it makes him relatable. I did not have an upbringing like Jelly Rolls at all. You know, besides my summer of sadness, I didn't ever really have a long-running relationship that was toxic with drugs and alcohol. I haven't really done heavy drugs. I wasn't a drug dealer. I didn't grow up in that kind of rough environment. But everything he spoke about in his songs, in between songs, when he was just talking to the audience, I related to that. He has this one saying that there's a reason the windshield is bigger than the rear view mirror. That you gotta move on. That at some point, you have to forgive yourself. You gotta move on from all the mistakes you made, all the people you hurt, all the shit you caused, everything that you've done in your life that you and other people deem quote unquote wrong. You gotta move away from it at some point, and you gotta go forward. And looking forward, looking through that windshield is so much more powerful than looking in the rearview mirror. And the way he owns up to the fact that he was a drug dealer and he hurt people and he sold them these drugs that perhaps spiraled their lives or destroyed their lives, the way he owns up to it, that type of authenticity, I feel like is so rare and so important for all of us. Because we've all messed up, let's be real. I've messed up. I've treated people very poorly in the past. I was a completely different person 3 years ago. The stuff that came out of my mouth at that point, my gosh, it used to make me feel so ashamed. But the thing is, I can't change that. That has happened. I have messed up. I am not perfect. I have hurt people. I have lied. I have done all of that. But that is who I was, and that is part of my past. And that is not who I am today. And that's not who I'm going to be tomorrow. And if you don't let go of it at some point, if you don't forgive yourself at some point, you're never going to actually become the person you want to be. That's one big thing I took from Jelly Roll, was that message. And him, just listening to him, especially in his documentary, own up to all this with grace and generosity and gratitude was really inspiring for me to see. And it inspires me to be even more authentic in these podcasts, in the way I treat other people. Authenticity has been a really big thing for me. I won't lie. This journey, the past few years, learning who I want to be, stepping into that, authenticity has played a huge role in that. But I'm always so excited when I get inspired to push it even further. Because the ego does take over, right? People pleaser does take over, especially when we're starting new things. It's like we're trying to find the right way to please everybody, but at the end of the day, we're not going to. The only person you can please ultimately is yourself. And the only way you're going to do that is by being authentically you. Okay. Another thing that floored me about this concert, about watching Jelly Roll live, was, my gosh, honestly, I'm sitting here and there's tears in my eyes. I'll be real with you. And this happened at the actual concert for me. I believe in oneness. I haven't talked about faith that much on the podcast, and I will. My journey with faith has been all over the place. I've jumped from religion to religion my whole life, and I've learned that faith is different than religion. My faith right now, and perhaps it will change, it is ever evolving as everything is in life. But I believe in oneness. I believe we are all equal. I believe we are equal to the earth, to the plants, to the animals. We are all one. And I've experienced this feeling of oneness so many times in nature. And I've been blessed to experience it a few times with groups of people. This concert was one of the most profound feelings and experiences of oneness. And it's because of Jelly Roll. It's because of his vulnerability and authenticity and the fact that he's so open. There was, I'm really bad with guessing numbers, but I'd say hundreds, maybe thousands of people at this festival. Probably thousands. And at one point, Jelly Roll was explaining how he grew up listening to a bunch of different music, which is also something I super relate to because I love all music. I shouldn't say that. There's a couple genres I'm not the biggest fan of, but for the most part, I love everything. I love rock. I love country. I love rap. I like jazz. I like instrumental. I like hip hop. I like EDM. I like all of it. And he was explaining how he grew up listening to a bunch of different genres. And then he went on to cover a bunch of these songs. And so he started at old school country, Toby Keith. And here's the thing. This is where unity came in a way that I totally did not expect it to. He starts covering old school country like Toby Keith, and we're all singing along. He jumps to old school rock, Lynyrd Skynyrd, and we are all singing along. And then he goes to Eminem, and we're all just rapping along with him. No matter what genre he jumped to, the audience stayed with him. They stayed together, and we all just sang along. And it was this moment for me, because in this group of thousands of people, we all have our differences. We do. And maybe from afar, we all judge each other a little bit in some capacity. And look at this beautiful moment of unity through music. Jelly Roll said something too that really stuck with me. He said that this is therapeutic music. That's the genre. And I could not agree more. I think a lot of music is therapeutic, if I'm being honest, but watching everybody sing all these different genres together, it was just a very profound moment for me. And yes, I've experienced concerts before where everyone's singing along and there is that sense of unity, but I think it's the fact that we jumped from genre to genre to genre and we all kept up with him. You know what I mean? I've experienced that before at a club, dancing my heart out when it's like old school 2000s hits, but I've never experienced it like this. And maybe it's just also where I'm at in life, in my own journey of healing, where I'm at spiritually, that now music is hitting me in such a different way. And these experiences of humanity hit me in a much greater way. Honestly, it was just a very incredible way of experiencing oneness that I haven't had yet. Usually the oneness that I've experienced has been in like very quiet, meditative, beautiful, reflective states. It was friggin' awesome to experience it in a loud, boisterous way. So I'm just grateful for that. That was just a new thing for me. And even with his songs. So this is the thing, right? The unity, the way we all relate. So like I said, I can't relate to his upbringing. I just can't. And yet I still relate to his songs. Why? Because he speaks, he sings, he writes about our demons. We all have demons. You know, yes, Summer of Sadness, my shrooms trip, all my demons came out. And sitting where I am now, I'm so grateful for it, right? Because I could address every single demon. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with what I mean, check out episode 1, Who I Was. But essentially all my demons came out, right? My dead dad demon of not dealing with my dad's death, my demon of hating my physical body, of torturing it, of starving it, my demon of not feeling worthy, not feeling good enough, my demon of fear of failure, fear of judgment. All of my demons came out during that shrooms trip. And then dealing with those demons for the past 2.5 years has been my journey. And his music, the demons he fights, are so relatable because we're all fighting demons in some way. And we're all trying to numb ourselves at times in some ways. And it doesn't have to be just with drugs and alcohol. It can be with toxic positivity, with perfectionism, with however our egos deal with numbing ourselves. And that's the part of his music that I relate to. No, I don't really drink that much anymore. I don't do drugs anymore. And I never did in such a full-blown capacity. But I can still relate to his lyrics because I still have demons that I'm fighting. Because we all do. And the thing is, I don't think we talk about it enough as a society. We don't talk about it openly. And we're all just trying to do the best we can under our given circumstances. That's all we're trying to do, every single one of us, on a day-to-day basis. He talks a lot about being somewhere between right and wrong. And my gosh, I think we're all at that place, right? I know I am. I try so hard to be quote unquote good, pure, clean, like to do it right, to do it the kind way and the most generous way and the most compassionate way. And I love that about myself. Don't get me wrong. I love that I love to love. I love how much unconditional love I have for this world and for everyone in it. And I love the fact that I don't want to judge people. I love the fact that I want to better myself like that. But that too can become an obsession for me, if I'm being real, is to always try to be right and clean and pure. And I think a lot of us are somewhere in between right and wrong. We're in between good and bad. We're in between perfect and imperfect, right? And that's what I get from his music the most. And that's why I think it relates to so many people. And I'm just so happy I got the chance to experience him. For whatever reason, universe brought that to me. And I'm so grateful to be this humbled in my judgment. And I'm just so surprised. And I love being surprised like this by people. I think this is the beauty of always having an open mind and an open heart. And also just another beautiful example of trusting in the universe. For me at least, right? That's my faith. Is that I was meant to go to that festival. I was meant to see Jelly Roll perform. And I was meant to be impacted by him in this way. And I know it's meant because at the end of his documentary, this blew my mind, but not really, because I understand the synchronicities of life when something is meant. But at the end of his documentary, he actually says something like, now all I'm focusing on is growth and gratitude. And I turned to my boyfriend and I put my hands in the air and I was like, what? And it was such a great moment because those are the two things I always come back to. And this is the euphoria. I wish I could bottle this feeling and give it to all of you that are listening. I wish I could just bottle it and I would give it to you for free, this euphoria. Because what this euphoria is feeling seen. I think that is such a vital feeling to being a human being, is feeling seen. And I was shocked and delighted and inspired and humbled to feel so seen by Jelly Roll and his music and his lyrics and just who he is as a person. Oh, and before I forget, one of the greatest things, on top of everything I already talked about, was his real and innate and pure desire to be of service. So Jelly Roll works a lot with youth that are in prison, in jail, and he works to give them options and to inspire them not to make the same mistakes he did. That is one of the biggest things I can relate to him on in a completely different way. But to be of service, to me, that is what life is about. That is what this podcast is attempting to be about. That's what a couple other projects I have coming up are about, is to be of service to the collective, to be of service to the greater good, to be of service to humanity. I'm still finding my specific niche of how I want to do that. But to see his specific niche, to see him embrace it so fully, to see him walk the walk, that is the most inspiring thing to me. So thank you, Jelly Roll. Thank you so frigging much. Thank you for who you are, for what you do, for how you show up in the world, how you own yourself, Thank you for inspiring me to be a better person, to be an even better version of myself, to keep growing, to keep being humbled, to keep checking myself. Yeah, it really blew me away, folks. It really did. And Jelly Roll, if you are listening to this, truly from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Thank you so much. All right. Woo! I'm on fire right now, everyone. Okay. Let's wind it down with our prompt of gratitude. So I already feel so much gratitude for Jelly Roll right now in this entire experience, but let me lead you through a prompt. Can you think of a song that fills you with a feeling of being seen or heard, or just affects you in a really deep, innate way? Can you think of that song, whatever it is, its melody, the artist, the lyrics? Can you let it fill your entire heart, your entire body? Can you just say thank you? There you go. Thank you so much for tuning in again today. Truly, I do love these. They bring so much light to my life. Thank you so much. All right, much love, and bye for now. Thanks so much for checking out today's episode. If you resonated with what you heard, hit that subscribe button and maybe send it to someone who you think might need to hear today's message. If you want to stay up to date and connect with us on the socials, our Instagram handle is @GratitudeGrowthPodcast. Until next time, stay grateful and keep growing.